The sharp crack of a slap rang out across the pristine marble lobby of Dominion Capital Bank, slicing through the composed hush like a whip. Conversations halted mid-sentence, frozen by the violence of the sound. Customers turned in shock, bank employees stopped mid-task, and the echo lingered in the vast air like a warning bell. "I've already called security," boomed the voice of Carson Blake, the branch manager, his tone echoing through the vaulted ceiling like a gavel struck in anger. His face was flushed red, the veins in his neck bulging with indignant fury. "We don't serve your kind here." Across from him stood Imani Grayson, perfectly still. The heat from the slap pulsed across her cheek, but she neither flinched nor backed down. Her expression was calm, eyes dark and unwavering. Her silence was louder than any scream. Two security guards charged toward the scene, but they weren't coming for Carson, the man who had just struck a customer in public. They were coming for her. "Ma'am, I need you to step out now," one of the guards barked, already reaching for her arm. Phones were out. The bystanders were filming. Another injustice unfolding in real time. Some watched in horror, some in silent curiosity, but most remained still complicit in their silence. Imani smoothed the soft beige cardigan over her blouse, adjusting her posture without moving her feet. Her voice came out measured, even. "I believe there's been a misunderstanding," she said, her tone slicing through the tension like a scalpel. Carson scoffed, loud enough for all to hear. "Oh, there's no misunderstanding, lady. We know exactly what this is. You people think you could just walk in here like you belong." And before he could finish his sentence, the heavy glass entrance swung open. Two police officers entered, their eyes landing immediately on Imani. One of them, a white officer, rested a hand on his holster. "That's her," Carson barked, pointing directly at her. "She's the one causing the disturbance." Imani exhaled slowly. She'd seen this scene unfold 100 times in her life, just never starring her. Being black and resolute wasn't a neutral act. It was defiance, and defiance demanded punishment. But they didn't know who she was. That was the entire point. 2 days before the slap, Imani had stepped into Dominion Capital Bank for the first time. No one noticed her. That's how she wanted it. She wore navy slacks, a crisp white blouse, sensible black flats, and her braided hair was tucked neatly beneath a simple gray head wrap. She carried no designer handbag, wore no flashy jewelry, nothing to suggest affluence. She blended in perfectly. Dominion was a cornerstone of financial prestige in the city, catering to high-value clients and elite corporations. But behind the luxury veneer lay a long unspoken history of quiet discrimination. And that was exactly what Imani had come to confront, not with protest signs or headlines, but with quiet observation and irrefutable proof. What no one in that branch knew was that 3 weeks earlier, Imani Grayson had completed the silent acquisition of Dominion Capital's parent company. The paperwork wasn't public yet. The staff had no idea that the woman they were dismissing had the authority to fire them all with a single call. She needed to see it for herself. Racism wasn't written into policy. It revealed itself in subtle choices, coded language, deferential smiles offered selectively. She had to feel it the way thousands hate on her skin in real time. At 10:17 a.m., she approached the front desk. The young teller on duty, early 20s, clean-cut, nervous, froze for a moment when he saw her. "Good morning," she greeted warmly. "I'd like to open both a checking and savings account. Also, I'm interested in your investment options." The teller hesitated, not rude, but uncomfortable. Instead of connecting her with a personal banker, he grabbed a brochure and pushed it toward her. "Everything's listed here. You can also apply online. It's easier that way," he offered, clearly hoping she'd just walk away. Imani smiled politely, but didn't move. "I prefer to speak with someone in person," she said, gently but firmly. He gulped, then glanced toward the customer service desk. That's when she noticed Carson Blake watching her, eyes narrowed. She could almost hear his thoughts. The teller picked up the phone. "I've got a walk-in asking about account services." Yeah. She wants to speak to a banker, right? I understand." He hung up and turned back to her with a rehearsed smile. "Our bankers are all with clients. It might be a long wait. Seconds later, a white woman in business casual attire stepped through the door. Before she could even speak, Carson rose from his chair and approached her with warmth. "Welcome to Dominion Capital. Opening an account with us today?" he asked, smiling broadly. "Yes, I just moved to the area," the woman replied. "I'll assist you personally. Right this way." Imani spoke clearly. "Mr. Blake, I couldn't help but notice that although your teller told me all bankers were unavailable, you just offered immediate assistance to another customer. Could you explain that?" The change in the room was immediate. Employees stiffened. Carson's smile vanished. "Excuse me," he said tersely. "I was just told there's a wait, yet this customer was helped right away." "What?" His jaw clenched. "I'm sure there's a misunderstanding," he said, voice tight. Imani smiled softly. "Then I'll wait. I'll look forward to speaking with a banker." Carson paused. He was stuck. Help her and admit she deserved it. Refuse and prove her point. With a strained smile, he turned to the other woman. "Miss Carver, if you don't mind waiting, I'll have someone assist you shortly." Then, begrudgingly, he turned back to Imani. "Right this way." He led her briskly through the polished interior of the bank, past expensive art and glass offices where other customers were being doted on. He moved fast, a power tactic. Imani matched his pace effortlessly. He opened the door to his office and gestured her inside. She took a seat. It was all expensive leather, brushed steel, and tasteful minimalism. All of it meant to signal power. But it wasn't his power anymore. He sat across from her, his eyes scanning her face. "So, Ms. Grayson, what services are you interested in?" She knew the game well. Racism in banking never screamed. It whispered. It obstructed. It delayed. It quietly wore people down until they gave up. "I'd like to open personal checking and savings accounts," she said. "Also, I'd like a consultation on your wealth management offerings." His eyes flickered with doubt, but he nodded. He pulled out a packet. "I'll need 2 forms of ID and proof of employment," he said. She handed him a driver's license and a social security card. "And proof of address?" She slid over a utility bill. He tapped his fingers, frustrated that she had everything ready. He stalled. "Verification takes time," he said. "Could take longer for cases like yours." "Cases like mine?" she echoed. "Just standard policy." "That's odd," she said casually. "My neighbor opened an account here last month and was approved on the spot." "It depends on the client profile," he replied stiffly. "And what's mine?" she asked. He didn't answer. A knock interrupted them. One of the tellers peeked in. "Sorry, Mr. Blake. There's a complaint at the desk. Someone mentioned bias." Carson's face tightened. "Excuse me," he muttered. "I'll be here," Imani replied sweetly. As soon as the door closed behind him, she pulled out her phone. She began recording a voice memo and quietly noted each step of the discrimination she had experienced. Moments later, the same teller returned, visibly shaken. "I shouldn't say this," he said, "but this happens all the time." He screens people, Black clients, Latino too. They never get to the higher bankers. "We've lost so many clients that way." "Thank you," Imani said. "What's your name?" "Kevin." "You did the right thing, Kevin." Carson returned moments later, face dark. "I don't appreciate you interrogating my staff." "Funny," she said. "I thought I was the one being interrogated. I'm going to ask you to leave. Now." "No." He reached for the phone. "Security will escort you out." Before he could press a button, the doors opened again. A woman in a gray pantsuit entered, flanked by 2 assistants. She walked with purpose, authority radiating from her like heat. "Miss Grayson," she said, offering a smile. "Right on time," Imani replied. Carson stared in confusion. "Who the hell are you?" "My name is Dana Sheffield, head of compliance for Grayson Capital." She placed a folder on the desk. "Effective 3 weeks ago, Miss Grayson became the majority shareholder of your parent company. This branch is under audit. You're being investigated for repeated discrimination." More people entered. Security. Corporate investigators. They had video, audio, client interviews. "You're suspended. Effective immediately." Carson was dragged from his own office, screaming. No one followed him. That evening, Dana returned with reports. 36 formal complaints. All ignored. At the center, a regional VP named Craig Danner. The next day, Craig tried to charm Amani into silence. "You want quiet," she told him. "I want sunlight." She released everything. Data, names, footage, proof. The press exploded. Danner resigned. The software that enabled the profiling came from Thorn Analytics, a company Amani had once invested in. Her own son, Terrence, came to her. "Mom, you helped build this." She had, and the guilt almost crushed her. So she came clean. Publicly. Tearfully. Powerfully. Then she built something new, an open-source ethical banking AI, free for any institution. She called it Horizon Equity. Banks that refused to use it? Grayson Capital cut all ties. The world listened. Months later, she returned to the same bank. The marble floors remained, but the spirit had changed. An older black woman entered behind her. This time, a banker smiled and said, "Welcome, MS. Jenkins. We're honored to have you." Imani smiled. Outside, a reporter called, "Miss Grayson, is this a victory lap?" "No," she said. "It's a relay, and I'm passing the baton." Then she walked into the sun, leaving the door wide open for those who came next.